Hi, this is Peach, and this month's Garden Discovery Walk is in Texas, where the desert is blooming. Established in 1992, the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center is in Austin, Texas. The center is located about 200 miles from the Gulf of Mexico. Climate is affected by weather that comes off of the Gulf, as well as across Texas from the Pacific. Here at the center, there is an arboretum, gardens, and trails that are open to the public. There are over 900 species of wildflowers, and it's a preservation plan that got this going. What began in 1932 was a Fostering Wildflowers program for the Department of Transportation. Following that time, in 1965, Lady Bird Johnson, then the First Lady, began the U.S. Highway Beautification Act. So what is a wildflower and why is it important? We will explore that as we visit the center on our walk today. A wildflower is any kind of wildflowering plant. It can be trees, shrubs, and meadows, flowers in the forest. This would include whatever grows in a native habitat. It can include trees and shrubs, and in this case, a mixture of juniper, cactus, meadows, and oak forests. Because of its location in South Texas, the climate can be very hot and dry, but it can also be very wet. The rainfall can be up to 34 inches a year annually. And significant floods are not uncommon in the springtime and into the summer. Plants that you will see here include plants that you might see in the desert, like yucca and cactus, as well as the wildflowers that you will see blooming on our tour. The blue lupine flowers are called blue bonnets in Texas, and they're famous. Our timing was perfect for seeing them in bloom, and some are beginning to go to seed and will reappear next spring. Also common at this time of year are helianthus, or native sunflowers. They're small, but the yellow is just gorgeous throughout the grassy fields. This is considered a humid subtropical climate in central Texas, and you'll notice the Spanish-style architecture at this center. The Spanish inhabited this area for hundreds of years. Before them, the Native Americans were here, and there were a variety of tribes, all particularly nomadic. along with a native plant species. There are animals and insects that inhabit this area. Of particular interest, I want to show you how a family of owls have moved into the structure. You'll be able to see them as I zero in on this top left corner behind some greenery on that little shelf. We'll get in closer and you'll be able to see there's a family of owlets waiting to be fed. Before we enter into the walled gardens, we'll explore the Arboretum. Here we'll find native plants growing in their natural environment. Pink evening primrose is prevalent. Also along roadways, it's growing freely and mixed in with the blue bonnets. This area has dry, rocky soil, so we see plants that can handle both the heavy rainfall in the spring and summer, and then later summer, the very dry times when the cactus may bloom. This past winter, South Texas had a heavy freeze and many of the cactus died. You can see some damage on this cactus here. Much of the plants are able to tolerate the additional cold and have revived themselves with the rains that came this spring. What you see here, the little gray mounds, are called lace cactus. And more of that native sunflower mixed in. We will now be entering the walled gardens, where there are a variety of species from Texas, from all over. This area has a mixture of part sun and part shade, allowing for plants that grow in the forest, and also giving visitors a place to rest from the hot Texas sun. Here in the walled garden, they've also created shade along the walkways with arbors and vines, plants that grow naturally in the forests here and around the state of Texas. You can see that some of the shrubbery has not gotten its leaves yet, and many of the plants are just beginning to emerge from the ground. Some of them are annuals and some are perennials, and we'll visit closer to see what is in this garden. You'll also notice greenhouses in the background. This is where they do a lot of work and preservation of species during the winter months. And this is also a demonstration garden showing people what they could grow in this climate. We now enter the woodland garden, which is a mixture of shade and part sun. Lots of shrubbery and wildlife abound here in this area. You'll notice that it is like a little oasis because there's a lot of water and a stream running through the area. Please also take close notice. Up in the branches of the trees are some parasitic plants called epiphytes that live off the moisture and dust in the air. This is a marshy environment where the water from the streams and the rains collect. Coming up, we'll be seeing a chart of the different animals that are native to this area. And here at the Wildflower Center, they're finding that these birds and amphibians, reptiles, and insects and mammals all are returning. Pollinators are encouraged in these habitats, and they have actually set apart a specific garden for pollinators to demonstrate to visitors what plants invite native species of bees and butterflies and other insects. Also in this area is a special little cabin that is a place that they encourage the hatching of insects that will boost in the garden. It's called an insectary. It has screened walls, and they use it as a way to preserve the native insects and also promote them throughout the area. Of course, all of the blooms encourage pollinators, but there are some specific ones here in this area. And some of them are blooming. Others are just beginning to emerge from the ground as perennials. And as we go through the rest of the garden, we'll see a variety of plants that are. Wildflowers will bloom in sun and in shade. So we see them in a variety of places. And here we are now going through a meadow demonstration garden. Mixed into this meadow area is the light purple flower called prairie verbena, and also bluebells and some other plants that have not been labeled. We go into a little bit of woodland. The focus here at the center on native wildflowers, grasses, shrubs, cacti, and trees of Texas provide wildlife habitat, maintain healthy soils, and create a sense of place. They're also very beautiful. Native plants can also use fewer resources such as water, fertilizer, and pesticides. Plus, they require much less maintenance than non-native plants. You may recognize some of these plants. Aloe vera grows among the rocky soil. Plants here, found in the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center, can include up to 900 species of native plants that are representing the major ecoregions of Texas, from the Chihuahuan Desert to the Texas Blackland Prairies. This is the most diverse collection of Texas native plants in North America. It's been planted here for you for inspiration, solitude, and joy. Also included in the demonstration gardens are their herbal and healing gardens. You'll see a demonstration of a variety of plants. Many of them have been used as a natural apothecary The plants are labeled, and I apologize that it's difficult to read them. This orange flower we see in front of us is called woolly globe mallow. We will now enter into the meadowlands with a variety of native plants. We complete our tour of the Wildflower Center with this interactive art installation of cyanotype photography. The photography by artist Don Kim, called Once in a Blue Moon Twice, is a type of photography that uses various shapes, including wildflowers from the center, to create imprints on fabric.